Morning, Mark. How's it going?
Doing alright, pal.
How are you feeling?
Feeling good.
What have you been up to today?
I've just been to one of my first properties that come up, what I bought in 2003. Just come empty. Just got to titty face it.
You've got to what?
I'm going to titty face it up a bit and do it up a bit.
Right.
Tenant was in about 5 years, so I'm just going to repaint it and do some work.
It's a long time. It's nearly 20 years you've had that house.
19.
19 years. What's the price like now compared to 19 years ago?
When they come empty, I like to see what's happened over the last few years on it since I bought them to see what I'm going to do. I'm debating whether to sell it or rent it. But actually I'm just going to rent it. I don't believe in selling, as you know. But anyway, I bought it in 2003, off rack, all the figures there, for 45,000. Mm-hmm. Rent at the time we were getting 350. The tenants moved out about 4 weeks ago. Like I said, I've just been up now with painter and this, that and the other. And the tenant moved out, we were getting 525 rent. So it's gone up from 350 to 525. The house value now is a whopping 95 to 100,000. I never trust my own valuations when I'm valuing my own houses, so they're pretty much conservative. I've spoken to one or two other agents in the area and they think I could get another 10 or 15 grand out of that. But
wow, so you're looking at overall a big increase.
You're looking at least 50, 60,000 profit in 15 years, in 19 years.
Wow.
That's where the most of the profit comes, John, when you're making 100 quid rent profit every month. So that's neither here or there really. It's the capital value that goes up.
But if you think about it, if you had a mortgage, for example, that the tenant is paying for you across the years, it's actually a much bigger profit than you think.
Well, that's 100% profit, isn't it? I mean, the tenant has paid for the decorations, any maintenance over a period of time. So like I say, I'm making £100, £200 profit a month on it after I paid the mortgage out.
But it's a long game. Now,
but it's a long game, isn't it?
If you wanted to sell now, for example, this is when the big profit...
This is where I've just made 60 grand by an investment of, basically, at the time, John, I put about £5,000 deposit down.
Mm. Do you think prices now will shoot up so in such a same way in the next 15 years, or do you think that there'll be a bigger increase in 15 years, a smaller increase? What do you think about the property prices in the next sort of 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, they seem to keep doing what they do over a 15, 20 year period, don't they?
Mm.
I think if you look at it short term, over 5 and 10 years, that's a bit of a guesswork, to be honest with you, John, whether you get that boom. I mean, we just had this boom, haven't we?
Yeah. Up
to this boom, this house was probably worth about 85.
Still a big increase.
So in the last 12, 18 months, it just jumped up 15, 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's going to jump up another 15, 20 grand in a short period of time of 5 years or something, that's not really what you invest for. It's good. When you do that, that's more like speculating, buying something to do up to resell it. Well, I've never really done that, John, as you know. I like the income and I keep holding them.
No, exactly. So what's your advice for potential landlords that are sat there now thinking, wow, that sounds amazing. How do I get involved in that?
Well, I've just been talking to a lad down street, and he said, well, what was I doing? I said, basically. I told him I started 20 years ago, and I told him to go and get one himself. Just go and buy the cheapest property you can get, or what you can afford. I don't have any dreams of grandeur about
£500,000.
£500,000 house or even 150 grand house. Just get yourself on ladder, which I did, and all my properties basically are terrace properties. Because I just kept buying the cheapest one I could afford.
Yeah.
Basically.
So that's your advice then for potential landlords: buy small, work your way up the ladder, basically.
Yeah, just go and buy one, buy another one, buy another one. Big step houses, make sure you get 6.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. You know, you've over doubled your money.
Why do I say 6? Because if you can make £200 a month out of each one, and the boiler blows up next week, you can pay for your boiler.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the theory behind what I did, John, basically.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to just carry on renting it out for the next 15 years, basically. Or until it comes empty again. I used to have a look at it every time something comes empty, but I think I could cash in and get 60 grand, but what am I going to do with 60 grand?
You could buy a couple more.
Could also buy a silly car or something as well, couldn't I?
That's true. That is true. So how can people get in touch with you then if they're thinking about becoming a budding investor or a budding landlord?
Just give the office a ring, or 01772 254 572. Boom!